Well, Goo hit none of that, but that doesn't matter. He is going to take a raise.
Wow. I do like this from Goo because he's fighting for pots and he knows his opponent isn't representing much. The problem is he's not representing much.
Wow.
Cliff recognizes that and shoots right back over the top of him. This is really cool.
All right, about to get started. Matt Perry, a poker pro out of Rochester, New York, is the chip leader with 9.1 million. Greg Weber in second chip position with close to 7 million.
And over 1,100 entries generated a prize pool, but 3.6 million first place, taking $790,000. Second, 471. Sixth place, the worst case scenario, 161,000.
The antes are 10,000, blinds are 40 and 80. Thomas Paul going out, and now Cliff Josephy.
Cliff is kind of a legend in the poker community, especially for the online players. A lot of us learn coming up from his training site. He's just been a guy who's had great results and been around the scene for 20 years now. It's awesome to see him continue his success here on the WPT.
Ace-7 of clubs will bump it up to 180 to go. G. Lou also out. Now it's on to the firefighter. Second chip position, has an attractive ace-jack of spades, and he will continue with a call. And we're going to see a flop.
I like that Greg called here. I think if he 3-bets, it's a little awkward with Cliff being so short. He'd probably have to call a shove and not really love it. Instead, he just flops top here, and it's so disguised.
Jack 6 deuce, he has jacks, he checks it, but Josephy smart, checks behind him. Turn card's a 7 that hits Josephy.
Yeah, that's a rough card for Cliff there. It's essentially impossible to fold on the turn if Greg bets.
Greg has bet 225 here, and Josephy is thinking about it, but you're right. He has to make this call. Down to the river we go. Let's see if Josephy can suck out. No, deuce of diamonds.
That's a bad card for Cliff as well, because if Greg was drawing with something like 8-9 or 8-5, he's whiffed. Greg could even bet a worse 7 here and just think, okay, let's bet small, get the showdown.
He is going to bet 425. Josephy with an insta call. So there you go, Greg Weber starting out in a nice position. There's his mother and father. He's 27 years old.
And he's not a full-time player, so this is really exciting for him and his family, getting them to watch him play for so much money.
Matt Perry, he's a chess player, top juvenile chess player, well respected in the poker world. He quickly folds. And now Gia Lou with ace-3 of diamonds will raise. Greg out. Thomas Paul picking up kings.
Thomas Paul, I expect to be a thoughtful player. I mean, he's an ex-hedge fund manager. He was part of the MIT Blackjack team. He's not a full-time poker pro, but I expect him to play well and think about the game.
480,000.
Who needs to think? You got a pair of kings. You pop it up.
You notice his hand shook a little bit there as he put the money out. And if you watch a lot of live poker, you realize that typically happens when people are strong.
1,950,000.
But over the top, Gia doesn't believe him. He's going to raise it to over $1 million.
I gotta say, Vince, I like the play. We know staring at Thomas's kings, this is not gonna work out for Gia. But if you're gonna make a move like this, using one of the weak suited aces is an ideal hand.
He obviously didn't see the shaking hand. And now,
I'm all in.
right over the top, Thomas says, I wasn't kidding around. Gia, tail between his legs here, going, oh, what the heck did I just do?
He's trying to make it seem like he had a little bit of a decision, but we know he had a 3 in his hand.
Bye-bye, Gia. Good attempt, but Thomas Paul taking a big one down with a quality hand.
Play online poker for real cash and prizes at WPT Global. Sign up for free today and get a free entry into a $100,000 guaranteed tournament. Yeah, and I know it didn't work, Vince, but I like where Gia's head was at. And that tells me that he came to play today and is comfortable taking risks, because it's early in the final table and you see him making light 4-bets. And that is not something that a casual but passive player would do early in a final table.
Greg Weber now looking down at a little pair of 9s. Well, he is going to raise this with the 9s, makes it 180 with Thomas Paul with ace-king right behind him. Just gonna call the ace-king.
I like this. I think that he and Greg are both really deep. Greg's not likely to get out of line, but oh my goodness.
Cliff Josephy, what a time to get the pair of aces. You got 2 suckers in there on your right.
Yeah, Well, either Greg or Thomas is about to lose a bunch of chips because they both have really strong hands, and I would be so shocked if they both found a fold when Cliff pops it. Action clock ticking down there on Cliff as he decides his action.
Now, he will not go all in. He makes it 640, so he wants to get some value out of the aces.
640,000.
Folding behind him.
A little over 2 million.
Back to Greg Weber with the nines.
This is a tough one for Greg. The action clock is ticking away on Greg. Action clock does allow 30 seconds for each decision, but if you need an additional 30 seconds, each player begins the final table with 8 time bank chips. Nice fold there, Greg. Thomas is stuck, though.
I'm all in.
I
call.
Called it and called.
There's really nothing he can do. Sometimes you get coolered in spots like this.
Could use some red cards. Stop. Stop.
I had a big one too.
Barring catastrophe, Cliff Josephy is going to double up here and be in good shape to make a run at his first WPT title.
Flop is at 8-7-3.
It's a good flop. That's a very good flop for me. I like that flop.
Got a 1 in 24, 50 chance, I think.
I believe you.
Thomas Paul is actually drawing dead. Gia Lu had a king, so did Matt Perry, so this is over.
The 4 of diamonds.
4 diamonds. Last card doesn't matter. Cliff Josephy, the family man from Muttontown, New
You
York.
got your red
Cliff
card.
will win aces.
Oh, 1 diamond short.
51 years old, gonna double up in a big way. We're just getting started here at the Borgata Poker Open. We're coming back for more on the World Poker Tour.
Gia now. Ace-4 offsuit. I'm gonna let that one go.
Now Greg Weber wants no part of that. Thomas Paul taking a break now. Cliff Josephy.
Cliff reaching for tips. He's going to raise it up.
Cliff raising king 5 in the small blind into goo. The 9-8 in the big blind is currently our short stack. As we said at the top of the show, goo is a wild card, and we don't really know what to expect from him. So maybe he's folding his big blind way too much, and Cliff is attacking that.
Doesn't play that much poker, but he is making the call here. He actually owns a restaurant in Jersey, a Chinese restaurant.
Well, he's gonna own a chain of restaurants if he takes this thing down.
Flops at ace-3.
And this is a great flop texture to bet small on. And you see Cliff fire 80,000 into 500,000. And that's because he knows that goo is not that likely to have an ace. And if he doesn't have an ace, it's hard to continue. So he doesn't bother using a large bet.
Well, Goo hit none of that, but that doesn't matter. He is going to take a raise.
Wow. I do like this from Goo because he's fighting for pots and he knows his opponent isn't representing much. The problem is he's not representing much.
Wow.
Cliff recognizes that and shoots right back over the top of him. This is really cool.
He sees through it. He's saying, listen, I don't believe if you had an ace, you're going to raise me at that point. Great psychology. So he comes back over the top, and now Goo probably has to say goodbye. And he does so. Wow.
You're at the top of your game today, Vince.
I don't know.
Cliff on the top of his game as well. 3-betting people with king high and right about it.
Should have showed the Jack 10. Would have been good for the game.
Gia Lu playing some good poker here tonight.
Yeah, he's playing some very solid poker tonight. I like that he cold 4-bet that ace-jack suited. A lot of players would cold call or just fold in that position. Gia thus far has been comfortable taking the more risky option available to him.
Josephy has a very interesting 8-7 of diamonds. Likes it, makes it 180 with that hand. Into Goo. He's got ace-7. Goes out. Matt Perry. Professional player living in Vegas now. Goes away, and now Gia has the real hand. Pair of jacks.
And he's just calling, which is surprising to me. I mean, he's really created an image with those 2 4-bets so far of an aggressive pre-flop player. Having jacks in the small blind here seems like a good opportunity to put more money in the pot with that image. I'm not really sure why he's calling.
You got Greg Weber, the firefighter, to stick around, and the flop is at ace-9-6.
Very intriguing flop. Middle pair for Greg, open ender plus a backdoor flush draw for Cliff, and a pair under the ace for Gia.
Cliff Josephy, raised before the flop, will make the continuation bet of 240. Gia has to be disappointed with the ace popping up there, but he is in front at this point, makes the call. And Greg has a piece of that.
This would be an easier fold for Greg if he had Jack-9, but because he has 9-8, he's also trying to factor in whether he should peel with the backdoor straight draw. But he makes the right decision, does get away here.
So here we go. It's an 8, so that gives Josephy a pair plus the open-ended. Gia checks. And Josephy also checking. Down to the river we go. And a 7. Cliff has 2 pair.
I don't know why she is betting here. He bets 400K into $1 million, and if I had to guess, his intention is to bluff because he can't really get called by a worse hand. So I believe he's trying to make Cliff fold something like a weak ace. This is a little awkward.
And he's going to lay the 2 pair down.
Wow, and I guess Cliff was just convinced that his opponent either had the flush or a straight and was forced to fold his 2 pair. That's a big bluff from Gia there.
Play online poker for real cash and prizes at WPT Global. Sign up for free today and get a free entry into a $100,000 guaranteed tournament.
Well, Greg Weber, our new chip leader, he's edging out Matt Perry, who lost some chips before the break. And Goo in 6th place, a little under $4 million.
Action on the firefighter, the chip leader, Greg Weber. And he's got an insignificant hand. Folds the hand. Thomas also out. Cliff out. Goo not wanting to play. And around to Matt Perry. Ace 5.
How much to start with? I just can't. Is there like an?
Yeah, it's about like 5, 6, 5, 5.
It's always so awkward in that seat. Can't tell what's going on across the table. I don't blame Matt for trying to clarify, but look, I appreciate that he wants to get the stack sizes right. That tells me that he is thinking about those things in his decision making.
Well, he's made it 325 into Gia. Look, oh, Gia has picked up 10s again.
And this is a great opportunity. I like Gia's previous flat with pocket 10s against Matt because of the positions involved, but now blind versus blind, he has an awesome opportunity to 3-bet and get some money in here. He does not. Okay, I don't get it.
But the flop's at ace 9-5, and now he's wishing he could have pushed him out because Matt Perry hitting aces. And there's the continuation bet, 375.
This is going to get awkward for Gia because you have to start questioning how many bets am I willing to call with the ace overcard out there. And he does have a backdoor flush draw to the 10, but as we know, that would be beaten by Matt's ace of diamonds if it were to come through.
A 9 on the turn.
And that is not the card Matt wanted to see.
Matt's going to check.
It's not a bad card for Gia, though, and you see him betting both to get value and to protect his hand from, random 3 and 6 outers.
She's starting to think he's in front, perhaps. And he makes a bet of 400. River card is a 6, doesn't help Gia. Matt's going to check to him again.
Gia checks it back, and so Matt, who had lost the chip lead prior to this hand, is now going to regain it, taking some chips from Gia there. A bit of a missed opportunity by Gia to 3-bet pre-flop and create an aggressive dynamic with Matt. He was certainly making those kind of plays earlier. We saw him 4-bet ace-3 suited, but for whatever reason, he has changed his approach.
Blinds are up to 60-120 with a 20,000 ante. And Gia now with a king-queen. Will raise to 260 to go.
And behind him, Greg has an 8-7 suited, which in these situations you can play as a call or a 3-bet, as long as you don't fold.
He will just call it. And everybody else going out. Let's see if Goo also goes out. Low 4-5 gets out of the way. So we got king queen versus 8-7 of hearts, and the flop is a king 10-3. Beautiful flop for Gialou.
Yeah, he checks it right over to Greg, who does not take the bait as a bluff, and ooh, that 8 on the turn is going to cost Greg some chips.
He just picked up 8s now, and now Gia bets the kings 3-10.
So Greg is not about to fold a pair here to one bet. As you see him continue, the real decision will be on the river.
5 of diamonds. Gia looking solid here.
800.
That is a great card for Gia because now his opponent can tell himself, well, if Gia had any of the prominent draws, Jack 9, spades, 9-7, whatever, they've all missed on the 5 of diamonds. So if he was bluffing the turn, he's still bluffing this river. But if you think your opponent is likely to check a king or a 10 and then bet twice, you've got a very awkward decision here.
Action clock ticking down to 7 seconds.
A time bank chip is going to come into play.
And he's going to make this call. He is going to get burned.
Listen.
Well, that flop check from Gia turned out great for him. If he just bets the flop hand over, checking allowed him to get 2 streets of value from Greg.
Fold.
All right, let's get back to this action right here. Cliff Josephy will lay that down. And now Goo looks at a king jack.
And we haven't seen a lot out of Goo from this final table, so he's still a question mark. And I don't know what kind of tendencies or patterns to expect from him, but he is going to raise up this king jack.
Chinese restaurant owner in Jersey trying to take down this pot with king jack. And only one to beat now is Thomas Paul, who has a 7-9 in the big blind, but it's suited.
Very nice hand to take a flop with out of the big blind.
I call.
All right, he's going to stay involved, make the call. And the flop is an ace-7-3, so Thomas out flopping Goo. Gonna check.
It's a nice flop for Thomas. It's a pretty easy call when your opponent bets on this kind of texture.
Yeah, Goo will make the continuation bet. 275.
The decision street on this hand, really for both players, is going to be the turn. I don't know whether Goo is the kind of guy who fires a double barrel, and here you see he's turned no equity. He doesn't have anything besides king high. So is he the kind of guy that keeps up a bluff here, or is he the kind of guy who, whenever he doesn't have a strong hand or a big draw, just checks it down and tries to get to a showdown? I don't know, and I doubt Thomas does either. And you see the action clock ticking away there. One tell you see from inexperienced players is they act quickly when they're certain of their decision, and they take longer when they're uncertain of their decision. So you see Goo here, not exactly sure whether he wants to bet, but he is going to fire here, 650,000, and this time, it's probably going to work for him. I mean, that is a tough bet for Thomas to continue with.
Thomas wondering, does this guy really have an ace? That's a big bet, and Goo puts the hot sauce in his face. Gonna take down that pot, beautifully done, and shows it.
Oh.
Shows the hand. Oh, Goo opens up the fortune cookie, which says, I just bluffed you, sucker.
Play online poker for real cash and prizes at WPT Global. Sign up for free today and get a free entry into a $100,000 guaranteed tournament.
It did chip counts for you. Matt Perry still out in front. Goo, the short stack, really a pretty even field at this stage. Nobody running away with it. Nobody on their last breath. Anyone's game.
Couple folds into Thomas Paul.
He's on the cutoff with Queen Jack suited.
And I like the way Thomas is playing tonight. Very selective. And he is going to raise to 275. Cliff goes out. Goo. Oh, wow. Look at that squeeze. Beautiful pair of kings.
Let's go, Goo. Well, this is going to be trouble for Thomas because Queen Jack suited is not a hand you fold very often pre-flop, especially against one opponent. It plays very well post-flop. So Goo gonna 3-bet to 860,000.
Matt goes out.
And I would expect Thomas to call in position and take a flop. Oh no, Thomas has just put Goo all in. This is gonna be a disaster.
I'm on it.
And that's a quick call.
Goo has been pretty snug pre-flop at this final table. He really seems like the wrong guy to make this move against.
That's not good.
It's the same hand in blackjack.
Thomas remains smiling, though, hopeful. Anything could happen. Right now, Gu has all his chips in. Thomas would be down to about a little bit over $1 million if he should lose this pot, but we will see. 5 cards to come. Here is the flop. It's an ace, 8, deuce, and that is not good for Thomas Paul.
We got some serious sunglass on sunglass violence going on here.
Oh, that is the card, Vince. The 10 of clubs. That creates a world of possibilities.
Come on. Pay the ball. Come on, one time. Pay the ball.
Any club, 9, king, and they will all be delivering this pot to Thomas.
Gu, the owner of a Chinese restaurant.
Pay the ball. Come on.
He's like, pair the board. 8 of clubs, no good for you, bro.
Pay the ball.
Oh, it's a 3 of diamonds. Gu gonna take down a big one and double up, and that is gonna demolish Thomas Paul's stack.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of really scary, man. Wow,
15 outs on the river.
That is brutal for Thomas. I mean, you just didn't have to do that, so he's not out of this tournament, but he's only going to have about 1 million chips left.